Hi guys, welcome back to Sourcing Classes. This is Neha Bolgan. Hoping that you're all fine and fit wherever you are preparing for the Mains 2020 or the Prelims 2021. I am here today to talk economy through our new series that is Demystifying Economy. Now I'm sure that most of you have already watched our previous series that is Economy through Vocabulary, done so eloquently by our faculty Mrs. Neelima. The Demystifying Economy is a series which is a combination of the theoretical concept along with the current affairs that has recently been in news. And the topic that has been very craftily handpicked for today's video is Monetary Policy Committee. So come learn with me. Starting off with the simple fact that most of us know here is that RBI, the Reserve Bank of India, is the central bank of the country which, by regulating the flow of the currency, that is the circulation of the Indian notes in the economy, ensures the monetary stability in India. Thus, monetary policy here is a process by which RBI nothing but controls the money flow in the economy. And to understand what this regulation and control of money supply means, let us consider two scenarios. First being inflation. Now, in the situation of inflation, RBI generally reduces the money supply in the economy. And why? Let us understand what inflation is. As we generally know that inflation is a rise in the price level in an economy over a period of time. Now here we know that with the general rise in the price level in an economy over a period of time results in a sustained drop in the purchasing power of the money. So the purchasing power of the money that is left in the people's hands will go down. Thus, through various monetary policies such as the repo rate and the cash reserve ratio and etc., RBI tries to reduce the money supply in the economy such by increasing the value of the money. So when you decrease the money supply or the money circulation in the economy, you increase the value of it and thereby controlling the demand and inflation. Similarly, in the second scenario where there is deflation. Now, what is deflation? As most of you understand, this is nothing but the general price levels in a country falling down. This is exactly opposed to inflation. That is how you can easily remember it. Now, RBI aids the economic growth in this scenario by injecting money into the economy so that the purchasing power parity of the people increases again, leading to an overall increase in the demand. Now, thus, RBI injecting money into the market is called as expansionary monetary policy. This is very important. Try to remember the technical terms. Once you understand the concept as I have just explained it to you, when deflation happens, generally the prices go down and thus the money supply increases. As it is increasing the money supply, it is called as an expansionary monetary policy. While in the case of inflation, the money supply goes down. And that is why this policy is called as the contractionary monetary policy. Having understood what a monetary policy is and its role in the Indian economy, let us go forward and understand the Monetary Policy Committee, which is the body that decides these expansionary and contractionary policies. The monetary policy that is framed by a Monetary Policy Committee, which is the topic of the discussion today, publishes a monetary policy report. It is important to note that the Monetary Policy Committee is a statutory and institutionalized framework which is formed under the RBI Act of 1934. And as we have just understood, its objective is to maintain the price stability while keeping the growth of the economy in mind. Now let's go forward and understand how a monetary policy sets the interest rate, that is nothing but the repo rate. So the Monetary Policy Committee determines the policy interest rate which is nothing but the repo rate on the basis of acquiring its annual inflation target. By now you must have understood that generally monetary policy always bases its repo rates and every other monetary tool that it has around the inflation and deflation ranges in the economy. And most importantly, it is always around the annual inflation target that it has. And now this is generally a figure of 4% with the tolerance of plus or minus 2%. It means that this 4% can further go up to 6% and with the lower rate of 2%, but not below this minimum bar and not above this maximum bar. The inflation range with the bandwidth of 4% with plus and minus 2% was recommended by the committee headed by Urjit Patel. Please remember this might come in as a prelims question, or you can use this statement while you write a mains answer. So this has been decided in 2014 by a panel committee that was headed by Urjit Patel. Going forward, as regards the composition of the Monetary Policy Committee, the voting process or any decision in the Monetary Policy Committee is generally done by the majority vote. Now, the Monetary Policy Committee is a 6-body committee where 3 members are being nominated by the government, while 3 members are being nominated by the RBI. As I've promised you in the introduction, the Monetary Policy Committee's current affairs in the recent news will also be discussed. And here, the composition comes into place when we talk about the current affairs as I've just told you that the Monetary Policy Committee is a body of 6 members with the RBI governor as the ex officio chairperson and the other 2 members nominated by RBI and 3 members nominated by the government. Now, it was in recent news because there were 3 new members nominated by the government, that are namely Ashima Goyal, Shashanka Bide and Jayant Verma. Now, let's have a read into their profiles to have a better understanding about the eligibility of the membership into the Monetary Policy Committee. Ashima Goyal is a member of the PM Economic Advisory Council and is also a professor of the economics at Indira Gandhi Institute for Development and Research, while Shashanka is a senior advisor and research programs convener at the National Council of Applied Economics Research, and Jayant Verma is a professor in finance and accounting area at IIM Ahmedabad. So, as you can see, the government nominees are majorly academicians now. And going ahead, let us also have a mention of the nominees or the members by the RBI. That is, as I told you, the chairperson is the governor of the RBI is the ex officio chairperson of the Monetary Policy Committee, and that is Shaktikant Das. The deputy governor of the bank in charge, that is Michael Debrata Parthara, and executive director, that is Mridul Sargar. The members of the Monetary Policy Committee will be appointed for a period of 4 years and shall not be eligible for reappointment. So remember this point very vividly, as reappointment is not possible. Usually, the Monetary Policy Committee meets 4 times a year or as and when demanded by the chairperson, that is the governor of RBI. But in the financial year 2020, it also met one more time in view of the pandemic to assess the growing and evolving microeconomic situation of India. And in the recent meeting that was held in August 2020, the Monetary Policy Committee has decided to leave the repo rate unchanged in view of taming the inflation that is going up in the country. Before going ahead and understanding the Monetary Policy Committee's report 2020, let us understand a key amendment that has happened in the year 2016. After the Reserve Bank of India's adoption of the flexible inflation targeting framework in the August of 2016, there has been a shift in the focus of the monetary policy of India. And this shift has been observed to the consumer price index from the wholesale price index. The rules of the monetary policy have changed in India, with the central bank becoming even more focused on anchoring on inflation and the inflation expectations. But the COVID-19 pandemic has created a dilemma for the RBI, as higher than anticipated inflation prices in the recent month are observed. Now, going ahead, the key points of the Monetary Policy Committee reports are where the policy rates have remained unchanged. Now, according to the Monetary Policy Committee's report of 2020, they have kept the key policy rates unchanged, where the repo rate remains at 4% and the reverse repo rate is at 3.35%. Also here we have to understand that the retail inflation, which is measured by the CPI or the Consumer Price Index, also rose to a percentage of 6.09% in June 2020. So as you can see in the overall, the repo rate and the reverse repo rate have been well contained, while the retail inflation in March reaching this level has breached the central bank's medium target of 4 point plus or minus 2% and has gone above the ideal 6%. Going ahead, these are the other policy prescriptions, which are some of the key policy decisions done by the Monetary Policy Committee under the ambit of RBI. And these is the no extension announced on loan moratorium beyond 31st August that has been initially in the lockdown phase been announced to relieve the borrowers. As most of you know, but let me read it out for you again. Loan moratorium is nothing but a debt moratorium, which means that there is the government or the RBI is giving a leeway in the form of delayed in the payments of the debts or obligations because of the pandemic and the constraint of income going on at various households. And the other key policy changes that have been taken with respect to banks are there has been given relief to individual borrowers, and there is again the borrowing limits against the gold has gotten reduced. The startups have been included in the priority sector lending norms. Now here let me focus and spend some time on the restructuring aspect of the stressed corporate and MSME loans. By this I would like you guys to understand that the restructuring of the loans has been allowed by RBI to reduce the rising stress on incomes and balance sheets of large corporates, micro, small and medium enterprises as well as individuals. So that is what you need to remember and has been mentioned at this point. Now why has this happening and what does this loan restructuring mean? Now, a large number of firms that otherwise maintain a good track record are facing the challenge of debt burden. And this debt burden is becoming disproportionate in relation to the cash flow generation abilities of these firms. This can potentially impact or lead to the long-term viability. So this debt burden of these firms can potentially impact their long-term viability and pose significant financial stability risks if it becomes widespread. This might also lead to an increase in the non-performing assets. However, only those borrowed will be eligible for restructuring which accounts were classified as standard. So the borrowers whose account is classified as standard as by the RBI will be considered for restructuring, which means that they have not defaulted for more than 30 days with any lending institution as of March 1st, 2020. Another point to remember here is the loan restructuring scheme will be worked out by a committee headed by KV Kamath. So this is the second policy committee that we have come across in this video, with the first being the Urjit Patel's in 2014. Remember that and this. So the Urjit Patel committee is about the 4% plus or minus 2% annual inflation targeting of the Monetary Policy Committee, whereas the KV Kamath committee is about the loan restructuring scheme. Another point left out here in the policy prescriptions is the 10,000 crore support expanded to the National Housing Bank and the NABARD, that is the National Bank for Agriculture and Rural Development. Now this has been lended out or reached out to help small financiers and home loan companies under the National Housing Board amid the COVID-19 difficulties. The point to note here is the liquidity facility to both NABARD and NHB will only be offered at the policy repo rate. Having discussed all the relevant information of the Monetary Policy Committee from the view of the UPSC syllabus, I thought why not go out of the box? And this is where I've come across with what if the Monetary Policy Committee's reports or the figures have been inaccurate or inefficient, and what is the relevance of the Monetary Policy Committee's reports and the figures in the current day? So to understand that, I'm going to substantiate my talk on this economy series with a couple of articles that I've come across. So for that, I'm going to discuss about the set process in place about what if the Monetary Policy Committee goes off track. After analyzing 40 years of data, Robert Pollin and Andong Zhu, in their work Inflation and Economic Growth, a cross-country nonlinear analysis 2005, concluded that there was no justification. Remember this term very vividly, that, okay, excuse me for my handwriting. There was no justification for inflation targeting. And this inflation targeting, they said, is the policies that were being practiced throughout the world's middle and low income countries that to maintain the inflation between a bandwidth of 3 to 5%. In theory, price stability is the best guarantor of medium to long-term economic growth. But as shown, the threshold level at which inflation turns adverse for growth is not a settled issue. That is which they keep on pressuring about. If central banks were instrumental in bringing down the inflation rate in the developed world, their failure in pushing it despite repeated and increasing attempts to do so explodes the myth of their efficiency. Now, the second article here talking about the relevance of the monetary policy, giving some leeway and breathing space to the monetary policy committees world over, is the Bank for International Settlements. In its annual report 2015, talking about the inflation generating process, also opines that inflation is a highly imperfect gauge for sustainable economic expansions, as has become evident in the pre-crisis. Now, they say this because it would be especially expected in a highly globalized world in which competitive forces such as technology and etc. have literally eroded the pricing power of both the producers and the laborers. So this has made the wage price spirals of the past much less likely. Now, in this explanation, BIS almost lays out its theory of inflation, that wages matter a lot more than the central bank's mandates. Now, this indeed proves that inflation setting and the setting of the annual inflation targets is nothing but a purely political economy project. My intention to bring in the second article here is that no matter how non-justified or, as mentioned in the second report, imperfect the gauge of the inflation targeting policy rates would be, the importance of it being a political economic project reinstates its importance and significance in the functioning of an economy. Now, moving forward, what if the Monetary Policy Committee's report and figures is inaccurate, and how are they held accountable by the government? Now, this again coming back to India's scenario, I have discussed this as an out-of-box discussion just to aid the thinking of the viewers and maybe use it in the challenges or critique somewhere when it comes to the Monetary Policy Committee of the country or elsewhere. So the monetary policy is published after every meeting, and the committee is always answerable and accountable to the government of India. If the inflation, the target inflation exceeds the range prescribed for the 3 consecutive months, with the Reserve Bank of India Governor Shaktikant Das currently, will have to write to the government as to why the Monetary Policy Committee failed to contain inflation as prescribed in the RBI Act. So the means of accountability is for the chairperson. With that, I leave you guys today having discussed about a great deal of detail with the Monetary Policy Committee. And next week, I'm going to be back in the same series of demystifying economy at Sourcing classes. And the topic of discussion, let me leave you all with a little of suspense, is a very broad aspect that is about the problems with the planning of India. And I'm giving this heads up to you guys so that you can read up before the video comes out and probably write to us, write your opinions, write about any questions that we generally receive. And thank you for all the viewership and the comments with love that you show towards the Institute and the series. Do like, share and subscribe our videos at Sourcing Classes, and this is Neha signing off.